Good, everybody. For figures, trying to do a little live stream thing here. This is going to be a series I'm going to call Hyperfix. I started off, just put together a handful of figures I've gotten over the last couple months, first quarter of the year. So if anybody has any questions along the road, see something a little bit more in detail, ask questions, feel free to chime in. We're just going to chill for a little while and talk figures as we tend to do, but this time in more of a live format, because it's a little bit more sustainable, I'd say. But yeah, these are so far the figures that I've accumulated the year so far. I thought it'd be fun just to kind of get into this format. I do have some more ideas I'd like to become a little bit more involved with as it grows and goes on. But just start with something simple to start with. Just put together some figures to talk about how it goes. One thing I do know, make a better transition from that intro countdown to the actual story. Will hopefully be something I figure out by the next. Kind of making it up as we go. So. Anybody in here? Anybody want to say hello? You know, leave me, buddy. All right. Start. I'll leave these figures here. Start to talk about them a little. Hello. Of course you're here. For one supporter right there. Everything look good on your end? Okay. Thumb up. Okay. Oh, good. Oh, we're off. Focus on it. Pause this. I love it. Thank you. Like I said, I want to got a third viewer lurking in here. Who's that? Who's that? Just looking for one figure enthusiast. I guess Nia is. Found Europe. You know. All right, out of y'all who is here, which one want to look at first? Which one you want me to focus in on? Your votes in. Votes. What matters? B-horn guy? Got two guys with horns. Big one, not the little one? Okay, alright. Bison. He's a big old boy. This is what is this one? The SRA Studio Minotaur. I believe this one. Is this one Quesos? I think this one's Bailey's. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember which one's which. Like two brothers that made it. This one is clearly a bit more of a bison. Kind of unconventional Minotaur. The other one, brother, also much more of your standard Minotaur look, I think. All black, standard bullhead, red eyes. This is really unique. The paint on it, fantastic. Up close look, articulation on fantastic. Guy who can. Cloth underneath. It's all in sort of plastic. Accomplished. He didn't come with the most accessories, but he comes with a serviceable amount. You know, first he comes with the toes. Up close, good. Not feeling the hooves. You can action. Everyone wants a little. Don't lie to yourself. Second one. Got two little pairs of toesies. Personally, I think they're dope. I may never use toesies, but nice to have them. Comes with a series of hands, but on it, got basically somewhat function as bigger finger hands. But kind of, but he does also come with the fit. Does also wrapping his boy. Last accessory, giant axe. Bring in a stand, black sear. Big old boy. Imagine an axe that big as compared to you in life, man. Go right here. Pedro Pascal. Aw. The audio's cutting out. Maybe try refreshing. Oh, the accessory. Pretty nice. Not the most. It's not like he has the most robust collection of accessories. But when you're getting this much plastic stuff, gain a bit. Huh. I mean, my levels are pretty fine. I can... Maybe it's happening when I'm not speaking directly in the possibility. Okay. Something to do with my threshold. Well, definitely not picking up every. Low can I close threshold? Becomes a problem. Hello, 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 hello. Wide would be like the should be lower than that, right? Hello. Okay, I think we got it now. I think we're good. Anyways, this is the big old boy. Again, I probably should have looked up his name. I think it's either Queso Sustainably. Thank you for the hellos. Thank you. But yeah, for a big guy, he can move pretty well. The only place I would say he's somewhat limited is going to be in the head, which is to be expected with a guy of this kind of shape and size, I would say. But legs-wise, arm-wise, pretty great. You know, you're only going to get that 90-degree bend at the arm with the single joints. But all things considered, for a guy this big, I don't think that most people would expect something much greater than that. Legs, though, double jointed, really smooth, buttery smooth. And they close right up. And yeah, just overall, very aesthetically appealing figure. I just needed a Minotaur for the show, you know? I kind of did get a couple of Greek figures this year so far, so you'll kind of see some of those. But this one, it's really fun, and you can still get it on 5K Toys for a pretty low price, considering how big he is. You know, it's like the price of 2 or 3 standard sort of Marvel Legends right now. And honestly, it's pretty comparable to like a typical Hulk figure at this point from Marvel Legends, and it's easily 3 to 5 times as good. I think that's a good ratio to throw out there. 3 to 5 times. Paint is better, articulation is better, and you just get a whole lot more for your money compared to the standard sort of big boys that Marvel is putting out right now, and I appreciate that. You got a lot of detail going on here. Real sweet, real sweet. And he's just so big. I'm trying to consider if we should do size comparisons. What do y'all think? Should I do size comparisons per figure as we're going? Or should we do size comparisons at the very end with all of them? I don't know. The main reason I wanted to do the streaming is because I could keep it kind of open format, but it only kind of flows if we start to get a little bit of traction with the streams, which hopefully happens after the first couple. You know, we'll keep a good hope as we go. Okay, that's gonna be a lot more work. Thank you, Nia. Thank you, Brown. You're so considerate. Let's see. We'll start with just comparing some general big boys that I have that I think are fun to compare. Size is something. We're gonna grab a couple big boys. Okay. Firstly, of course, you gotta compare him to, like I said, a Hulk figure. which is, you know, going to size up with him pretty well. They seem somewhat in scale, but it does kind of give you that, just that idea of how large this guy really is. And for fun, I think we should put somebody who's pretty standard scale. We can just throw in Mando since he's here. Just to give you an idea. I just find it so fascinating to take these figures and put them alongside each other and imagine the size discrepancies of characters like this. I know a lot of people really enjoy Googling the size of characters from the particular anime or animation or movie that they enjoy, and it's cool to see it in a sort of tactile experience. So Hulk and him can stack up pretty well as far as girth. They both got the girth, but you know, Thales or Quesos, whichever one. Again, I should probably look that up. I want to say it's Quesos though. He towers, you know, over Hulk for sure. And a lot of it has to do with these feet. Maybe with his normal toesies, he'd be around a similar height. Yeah, they'd probably be pretty similar height if he had on them toes. So we could take him out. Then we could bring in, this is a McFarlane Megafig example, which they have a lot of variation in size, but we've got Killer Croc here going with the sort of anthropomorphic animal kind of theme. And you can see he kind of stacks up in size a lot closer. We got that crooked waist going on though. But this figure, it doesn't move near as well as the Zesray figure, which is to be expected. But again, the discrepancy between the price between these two figures, at least at retail, like you can get this figure. Typically, I'd say you could probably get this figure for lower than retail now, but their retail prices are not too far off if you can get it at a good store. Like 5K Toys has them in stock for anybody who's interested, and they have them at a lower price. But other stores like Big Bad Toy Store, you know, they always have a little bit of a markup, and typically the case with a lot of other places, even AliExpress is charging a little bit more for them. But again, I got them from 5K Toys. Had pretty positive experiences with them so far, and the prices between these two figures is fairly comparable. And I think on this one you're getting a smoother articulated figure. You definitely get more accessories. This guy literally didn't come with anything. He didn't even come with an alternate hand. So he has one open hand, one fist, which is kind of a bummer. And then, you know, superior paint, just overall nicer feel. And this is a mass market figure that you can find everywhere in Walmart, so I guess that's part of it. But, you know, when it comes down to it as the consumer, you're just thinking about how much money you want to spend. And I just can't help but say that this one is a much better value at a very similar price. So, and the next figure, which actually cost, I think, a little bit more, but I absolutely love this figure, is the Cosmic Legion's Kragnar, who made it on my top 10 list for last year. And he did, unfortunately, have a snap. He fell. Oh. We lost visuals. We lost the visuals. What happened? We green screened? How did that happen? That's kind of wild. Quick, everybody do something stupid. It's very weird. Why would it do that? And I don't really know how to fix it. That's kind of weird. Okay, there we go. We're back. I don't know what happened. But he did have a bit of a break. He fell off of not the shelf. He was on a table, and got cat hair all over this thing now. Oh, some of it might be mine. But right now, I do want to do a stream where I'll just kind of go through some of my figures that need a little fixing, and do another hyper fix where I just do a little handiwork and try and fix things, channel my inner Billy Maru, and see if I can, you know, get some of these guys fixed up, which I don't think would be that difficult. I've fixed some things like this before, but it is kind of a bummer because Kragnar's my boy. But you can see how he stacks up, even him being towered over by Quesos, and he's a pretty large guy. I would say between these two, the Kragnar does cost a little bit more, but he does come with more accessories. He does come with more hands. Well, maybe not realistically, you know. He doesn't come with alternate feet, you know, so maybe the playing field's a little even there, but I think Kragnar overall does have a little bit better paint. But that's not to undermine Quesos's at all. I think his is pretty fantastic as well, but Kragnar just be doing it, man. Kragnar really does. Plus, Kragnar has 4 arms. What's Quesos gonna do, man? What's he gonna do against that? I don't know. They're both pretty beefy boys. Emphasis on the beef with this guy. This guy is 110% pure beef, guaranteed to give you high cholesterol. There's a couple big boy size comparisons. Y'all rattle off a character you want to see next to him, and we'll do some more size comparisons that way. Oh, here's one more while we're here. This one feels like an apt size comparison, just because both of these figures are coming from a sort of third-party manufacturer that doesn't have as much going on, but they have really fantastic, simple figures on their own. And this is the Furry Planet Master Wang. It was also one of my favorite figures that I got last year. Super excited for what they've got going this year. Any of y'all mess with Fury Planet? No, not anybody who's here. So, yeah, Master Wang. He's a pretty big guy, but he's definitely nowhere near old Zesray Minotaur here. But yeah, rattle off some random characters. We could put them alongside. That would be fun. Again, we've got him here as a sort of relative scale. I did recently get this guy as well, who is meant to be Zeus, which is pretty fun. Just a little Zeus action. Obviously, both being from Greek mythology. It's fun to see them alongside each other. With the other tiger guy? Oh, do you have a tigress figure from Kung Fu Panda? Unfortunately not. I don't think that exists. There is, though, I would say that Master Wang is probably the closest thing to that, but there is some pandas. I think Furry Planet is making them. They're coming out. They're brothers. I think they're called Yin Yang or something like that. And they're, you know, very Kung Fu Panda-esque panda boys that are coming out this year, which would be pretty fun. Definitely on my watch list, because I just love that stuff right there. The sort of Eastern mythology with animals, sort of anthropomorphic animals is always fun to me. I can't get enough of that. But you know, we do have Zeus out. We could transition into him if we're satisfied with comparisons on Quesos. Or Thales. Again, I don't remember which one it is. You know what? Let's put that to bed. Let's look that up. Alright, it is Quesos. I've been calling him by the right name. We're good. thought I was remembering correctly, but you never know. I think I'm going to keep a pile over here to accumulate all of the accessories as we go along. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pull Quesos out of there and move on to. I guess we could do Zeus. Zeus is probably my most recent acquisition, and he's pretty fun. Although there's some things about him I'm not too hot about. I think out of all of the figures I got so far this year, he might be the biggest disappointment. And I say that lightly because it's not like I wasn't expecting him to be better than he is. I was expecting him to be pretty close to what he is, but I think he's like this close to being a primo figure. He does have a lot going for him, but there are a couple shortcomings that I feel like are pretty simple fixes. For one thing, I think his overall look is kind of fun. I think they pulled that off. Let's tilt the camera down a little bit, get a little bit more of a focused in look at him. I think his overall look is pretty good. I think the way they blocked out the gold and the white, it pairs pretty well. They definitely have a very unique sort of approach to this Roman-esque design language. It's not exactly like traditional Roman stylization, but it's a version of that, you know, and I think it's pretty fun. Always here for a fun little artistic interpretation. I think overall, if we were to reveal the titty, free the tits, you can see he does have just a lot of detailed airbrushing in the crevices, even under the tunic, on the arms, on the legs. They didn't miss any spot, but one spot they did miss big time on my boy. I mean, y'all are about to be devastated when you see this. Look at that. What kind of god has literally no ass, bro? My goodness, it's flatter than a pancake back there, man. BBL pancakes come into play. What the hell? It's so bad. It's so bad. They robbed him on the bun department, bro. And you can pull this up. You can take a look at his little cheeks. And man, he really does have that old man ass. 100% has that old man ass, where his glutes just fade into oblivion as he got older. It's they definitely did him dirty, bro. It's so bad. But outside of that, he's kind of fun. Articulation wise, the only shortcomings that I experience is I think he would benefit from a butterfly joint. And I think a boot swivel would be really helpful. He does have thigh swivel, but it is somewhat limited, but it's not that bad. I think you can get him in most of the positions you need. But it does also feel like they put the what's it called? Like the ankle hinge. I think it may almost be on a ball joint. It kind of has a little wiggle room there. No, it's hard to tell. You can still get him somewhat posted up. And we'll throw in his lightning bolt. Obviously, he's got to have the Zeus lightning bolt. You know, but I think you'd be paying for some cheeks on this man, you know, if there's a price for it. Like, I would have paid an extra $5 for him to have some damn cheeks. Got his little lightning bolt going on. Let's see if we can get him posed up a little bit. These loose armor bits, they can get kind of annoying, but I know that's something that a lot of people would talk about, probably. I don't really care. it's just part of it, you know, part of the experience. He's got I'd rather him have the loose removable armor bits than not, than just have them like part of the sculpt. I think it's more interesting when they're a separate piece. But this is definitely a he also has a very limited neck articulation, which I don't know necessarily. I think the ball joint is kind of fine. I think it does the job. And the main problem is that he has this really stiff beard and hair, which I'm not the... I think that's probably the thing that if I were to change one thing about him, it would be the face sculpt. It's not bad. It's not the worst, but it's also not the best. And what I think I might try and do is 3D sculpt and print an alternate head that I designed myself. And I do like his little crown, so it just insets with this little peg. So I could probably just, you know, put that in my own sculpt, still be able to carry over the crown, and then just have a nicer experience with him. I also think his head is a little small, which I think was part of their intention to, you know, shrink it down, make him seem bigger, more imposing. But in a minute, you'll see why I wish his head was a little bit bigger, but that'll come into play more when he gets into size comparisons. But let's see if we can get him down and dirty a little bit. There we go. Old boy Zeus going in hot. Overall, his articulation is pretty good. The lack of buns does allow his leg to go back a decent amount, but I'm not here for that sacrifice. Oh wow, the belt does come off. Oh, and there is a peg. Okay. I was thinking this before, that it seemed kind of loose there, and there seemed to be a little hole in the tunic, but I wasn't able to ever find this peg. So now that it's come undone, and I didn't have to, you know, run the risk of checking to see if it would come apart, and it came apart on its own. Okay. Kind of pulls his tunic down a little bit. Puts it in its needed position. That's pretty cool. But you know, I just needed a Zeus for the shelf. Like it's Zeus, man. You can't have these modern god-like beings like Superman on a shelf and not have Zeus. I definitely would take his joints a little slow. They do have that feeling that is one that I would not want to push, but you know, it is what it is. And I didn't notice before, but his gauntlets are different. I guess I thought they were the same. There we go. Got Zeus there. And we'll do a couple little size comparisons here while we can. Tilt up a little bit. First and foremost, we got his daughter. Good old Wonder Woman, which I suppose we can probably use as the transition into the next figure that I've gotten recently. That might be one of my favorite standouts. I think they just absolutely killed it when it came to Wonder Woman. But you can see she is a little bit taller than her dad, which I'm not as bothered by. I think they are technically different scales. I think they consider him more of a 6-inch. But he's close enough in height to like Wonder Woman and Superman, which I'm fine enough. That I'm fine with. That it doesn't really bother me. But I think this size discrepancy wouldn't be as bad because, like, if you look at their shoulders, it's not too far off. If he had just a slightly larger head. So whenever I get around to doing my own custom head sculpt, I will definitely size it up just a little bit for him, and I think you will see. Looks like we got a couple extra viewers in here. How's it going, everybody? Welcome in. Feel free to engage, man. We're just talking figures and looking at some recent figure gets and having a good time. So feel free to join in the conversation. Yeah. I guess we can also bring in this guy. I think he's fun. This is Witcher 3 Aridin. And both of these are McFarlane figures, the Wonder Woman and Aridin. So they're technically considered a 7-inch scale, but I've always been of the mindset of, like, I consider things on an action figure scale. Like, I'm not, if I can look at it and I can find some sort of story to rationalize, you know, think of it like you have a headcanon of a height for a character, and if you can, all it takes is just a little smart storytelling on your shelf to make it work. I mean, Wonder Woman is she's an Amazonian, half god princess. Like, why wouldn't she just be a giant muscle mommy? I'm here for it. I think it's great. And then we can bring in old Pedro Pascal just to see how she stands next to Papa Pedro. And you know, I think that's kind of sick. Some people would hate it, and they'd be like, why is she so tall? She can't possibly be. You know what? You're a woman hater. You're a woman hater. Just tell me you hate women. Let them be big. Because God didn't. Some of them. Some of the tallest people in the world are women. Let's be real. But I think that's fun. And even still, like, again, Zeus looks pretty good next to her, I think. I think they scale pretty well. And I think with just a little alternate head sculpt, he'd be pretty sick. Oh, Nia or Brown, don't start giving me faces like that, man. I know you're here for the muscle mummies. All right, we can pull both of those out of there. We'll put Wonder Woman off to the side over here. She can be lurking, as we will come back to her next. Next, we'll bring in another fun little figure. It feels kind of similar to Zeus in a lot of ways. I will say Zeus is nowhere near on the level of this Asura Red Demon as far as paint apps, clothing, like everything here is so well stitched, so well done. You even have wires in certain parts. Not in that part. Not in that part. Never mind. Only in the scarf, it seems. But you can see Zeus is definitely a bit more imposing here. I think I want to try and square him up. He's got a little too much sass in his pose. Let's see if we can put back a little bit more power just by affecting the way he's standing. That's a little better. I don't know. I don't want to linger on that too long. He was just sitting there with his hip pop like his daughter. Let's see what else we can bring in, I guess. Since we were talking about him anyways, we can bring in good old Superman. This is my custom Superman figure that I've made, that I am, in general, pretty happy with. And you can see he's a little bit taller than Zeus, but I think their height is close enough that in most angles, and especially when you play with certain angles, you're not going to be able to tell that, which, honestly, I don't have a problem with Superman being a little taller than Zeus, but I think some people would. Some people really do be acoustizing. But I think they look pretty good together. Yeah, let's take those guys out. We'll bring in Zeus's son, Hercules. This is the Marvel Legends Hercules, the retro carded, I believe. sort of vintage Hercules look, which I think is pretty sick. I love it. And I think he and his father scale very well together. You can also bring in another heavy hitter. We got All Might, who I'm perfectly happy with being a little bit taller, because All Might just seems to be unreasonably tall no matter what, which I think is great. And then if we take those two guys out of there, I do have these Fortnite, I believe they're called Menace. They're just kind of like Praetorian Guards sort of situation, which I think look fantastic flanking Zeus here. And then, of course, got to throw in the Fortnite Victory Royale series, Tassius Peels. I think they all look great together. The golds are obviously not a perfect match between the three, but I think it's close enough, you know? I don't know. Maybe my color blindness makes me feel that, but I think they go well enough together. Let me take a couple of those out of there. And I think these can be the last couple comparisons for right now. We got the Black Series Darth Malgus, who stacks up pretty close to old Zeusy boy here. And I'm trying to think of it from the angle of like similarly sized figures too. Like obviously I could throw in Mega Man and be like, there you go, that's his size. This may not do as much for people buying. Like whenever I'm trying to watch people's videos and see size comparisons, I like to see if they put them alongside some similarly sized figures so that I can gauge how big a figure might actually be in my collection. So trying to cover the gambit of similarly sized figures is kind of my goal with this. So we've also got the Amazing Yamaguchi Endeavor. All pretty similarly scaled figures. It's kind of interesting the way they did the stylized face on Zeus does feel more akin to the Amazing Yamaguchi line, just with a little bit less polish. And again, it's not that the face is bad, I just think it's the weakest part. I think most of what else is there is much stronger. I'm over here gazing at my shelf, seeing if I can find something that might be interesting to throw up here before we move on. And I mean, if I had it my way, I'd just throw them all up there. But also, that's going to be hell to put back on the shelf, so maybe try and keep a little thing. Oh, of course. I don't know why I was thinking of this. Alright, let's go ahead and get these two guys out of there, make a little room. Of course, got to do these comparisons, you know what I was thinking. Yeah, music is popping, right? This Japanese pop music 80s pop music is great. Got to bring in another god. We've got the Marvel Legends Thor. This is the Fortnite version. Hit the gwitty. Hit the gwitty. And they scale really well with each other, which because I think this figure was more so made with that 6-inch scale in mind, but I'm also of the mind that a lot of the Justice League would be closer to Thor's size than they would Captain America's or something like that, so I don't mind the larger scale. Speaking of, we'll bring in another DC multiverse. This is the Aquaman, a little bit of a kit bash, and I think they all scale pretty well together. You know, I don't have a Poseidon, you know, but we got another God of Thunder here, and essentially what is the Poseidon of the DC universe with Aquaman. And then for our last size comparisons, we'll throw in the Mattel Masters of the Universe He-Man 40th anniversary version, which is pretty sick. You gotta love that cut. I like your cut. I like your cut, G. And all of these guys scale pretty similar to each other. You know, I'd say He-Man's a little bit taller. Thor and Zeus stack up pretty well. Maybe Zeus is slightly taller. And then Zeus and Aquaman are pretty neck and neck. So, all in all, I think he scales pretty good. Again, my only thing is I would probably swap out his head for a larger head. I think his head's just a little undersized, and I think popping on that slightly larger head will give him a little extra height, and I think that'd be good for him. As far as accessories, what he comes with, he does come with an assortment of hands, various different gripping and fist type hands. Trying to find the rest of them. There's a couple more. I don't know if this is all of them or not. We're just kind of rolling with it, y'all. So, but I think that's it. So he comes with another fist. These other gripping hands. For some reason, he comes with like 2 gripping hands of the same size. They're slightly different. Don't really know the reason for that. And he doesn't come with a second of this hand, which I think is lightning bolt hand. So he can't hold his lightning bolt with his left hand, which is you know, it is what it is. He does also come with this staff, which is really fun. And one day I want to do a stream where I go through like all my accessories, which I tend to keep pretty well organized, but it started to get a little out of hand. So going through and just spending a couple hours streaming, looking at all the props and accessories that I have in the 1/12 scale, I think it'd be fun, whether or not you're a figure fan or not, just seeing a bunch of tiny little props. Pull this in, see if we can get it to focus. And it's got some nice little detail on it. You know, we got a nice little angel Chad man on there with his little titties out. So that's fun. There's a little detail on the end too. And this just slides right into the gripping hand that it goes with. And we've also got his sword, which is a pretty gnarly design, not gonna lie. They kind of popped off with it. Pretty sick. Big old boy. And what else does he come with? I just got a pile of all the accessories. We already showed the lightning bolt. And he also comes with his Medusa shield, which is another pretty awesome little piece. Does come with a strap and the handle. Handle is removable. Just pops into a little peg hole. And it's pretty cool. We'll get another up close look at it. Paint is really clean. If you really start, you know, pixel peeking, you might start to notice a little bit that's slightly off, but overall, I think the paint job is very clean. So that's the accessories it comes with, and I think that wraps it up for Zeus. So we can say goodbye to him. Say goodbye. One last thing. He does have this necklace, but it's covered by his beard. Another problem with the head sculpt. I just don't think that the head sculpt is really well thought out with it. I think there's potential for improvement. So stay tuned. Hopefully in the future we'll mess around with that. Maybe I'll paint it live. Maybe we'll do a live stream of painting up a head sculpt once I sculpt it. So that's that. Pull him out. We can pull a good old Wonder Woman here, because I think she's the one I want to go into a little bit more next. Yeah, you better say bye to them. Y'all are so supportive. Nobody wants to watch my damn stream, but you guys are. hopefully that gets a little better as time goes. But yeah, this is a very classic Wonder Woman. It's from McFarlane Toys, so this would be technically a cheaper figure. But the demand was so high, Todd McFarlane for so long talking about boys don't want to buy a Wonder Woman, they want a Superman or a Batman. Just very out of touch mentality surrounding it, I think, and I think he kind of ate his words a little bit when he released this Wonder Woman, and it sold out immediately everywhere, and nobody can get their hands on it. Resale prices are absolutely insane on this figure. Thankfully, I was able to find a pretty good deal on it, but it's definitely worth what the retail is. I would not say it is worth the $80 to $90 some people are paying on the aftermarket for it, but if you can find it for a pretty good deal, maybe a slight markup, I think she's well worth it. Overall, she is probably one of the best McFarlane figures that they have put out in the line. Her likeness, like her facial, the choice I went for the face, it took me a little bit to warm up to. I think I actually had a pretty good luck with the overall paint on her. I've seen some people have some pretty rough examples, but I think mine came out pretty well. The eyes are much more well aligned, and I think the lipstick is much more well aligned than I've seen on other people's, which I think, it's not that it makes it look like, oh god, the paint looks bad, but it has made other people's faces look a little wonky. I think she looks a little bit more how I think she was intended to look on my figure here, which I appreciate. Her overall build is like simultaneously slender and tall, but also she's got a little bit of that thickness to her. You know, she's a little muscular, and I think that it looks good on her. I love the difference in the paint for the torso with this kind of pearlescent red going on. The overall just details, the back of the corset looks so good. Come around the front, little extra wrinkle detail. They did not hold back on giving her a nice little bust. You know, she's got that. She's a little busty. And they did not hold back on giving her cheeks, which, you know, typically McFarlane does a pretty good job when it comes to the cheek meter. Either they give them substantial cheekage or they give them no cheekage at all. But 9 times out of 10, I think they, maybe not that. 7 times out of 10. Let's have that. 6 or 7 times out of 10. They give a pretty good little cheek rating to their characters, to their figures, which is not something we can say about Zeus. So whatever Zeus lost out on, Wonder Woman here picked up on. And surprisingly, for a McFarlane figure, she comes with a lot of accessories, which is pretty nice. She does come with 2 sets of alternate hands, so she has her fist on her default. She does have 2 other hands, kind of splayed open hands, gesture pose hands, and then 2 kind of gripping, pistol whipping trigger finger type hands, which are very strange. They almost have like a tumor going on in them. I don't know what happened there. She got stung by a bee in the middle of her palm. I don't know if that's picking up on camera or not, but it's just very bulbous on the actual inside of the palm. Maybe they needed to do that to help her hold her accessories better. I don't really know. She also does come with this, which has been sitting back here this whole time, her lasso of truth, which is pretty sick. And the way that I wrap it up to get it on her well is I, hold it between 2 fingers like this, bring down this one, and make sure I wrap around the outside of it so that this ends up being wrapped over every time. Wrap it all the way around till we get toward the end, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to tuck it through like that. This is just going to help it stay slightly contained. There's only so much you can do without trying to tie some sort of knot, which I'm aesthetically not looking for as much. I don't think she would have it in a knot. I should have got the belt ready before I did that, but we can take this, tuck it back through again, pop it on that little hook. What I like to do is I like to sort of press it against it and then sort of guide it a little bit, pull it down a little bit like that, give it a nice little pinch, and it tends to sit pretty well. It does have a slight stiffness to it, so you can, in my experience, control it pretty well. And you get a pretty good looking lasso of truth on her hip. I think that looks great for a 1/12 scale figure. Come on now. Come on now. She really does bring it, man. This figure is absolutely sick and easily one of my favorite figures and one of the best Wonder Woman figures I've seen made. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. She does come with this axe, which when we compare it to some of the other accessories like Zeus's staff or some of the other axes that I think we'll get to later, it's a little lackluster. You know, definitely cheaper plastic, definitely very bendy. But overall, for this figure, I think in most cases it looks pretty alright. You know, the sculpt is kind of nice. It's kind of there, and it's fun. It's nice that she comes with it. She does also come with her Wonder Woman shield. Knocked the camera a little bit, my bad. Which I don't know if this was warped out of the box or if it got warped just sitting here. I don't remember it being warped when I first pulled it out, but it has seemed to have gotten warped since. It's not a huge deal, but I think it's a pretty decent looking shield. But I already have a Wonder Woman shield. This was from the one that Todd McFarlane made, which I kind of like a little bit more, but this is definitely a little bit more classic, I guess. But yeah, I definitely think I like this shield a little bit more. But this is still a cool addition. It's nice that she comes with it, especially if you don't have a Wonder Woman shield. And she also comes with this sword, which I believe came with the Endless Winter Wonder Woman that they released. So it's a bit of a reuse, but it's nice that they just threw it in. You know, you get a sword, you get an axe, you get a shield, you get the lasso, you get hands. She comes with just a great selection of accessories, and I believe that's everything that she came with. And I think it looks pretty good. So we can move on now to a couple size comparisons with her. We've already seen her alongside her dear old dad Zeus, but we can bring in a couple more. First, this is the Wonder Woman that has been standing in on my shelf up until this point, who is going to be replaced by this Wonder Woman, but I think I will still be keeping this figure just because I really enjoy it. I think it's a fun look for her, but you know, it doesn't beat this one. This is the Last Night on Earth Wonder Woman. As you can see, they stand pretty comparably to each other, which is kind of interesting because this Wonder Woman has heels, this one doesn't. So technically, the new Wonder Woman is definitely larger. She is a big gal. They did not hold back. She might be, she definitely is on the taller side when it comes to McFarlane figures, which is a very interesting choice, and I'm here for it. I love a little tall Amazonian mommy. It's great. And of course, we can bring in my custom Superman again, who didn't get his chance to stand next to her before, but I think they look great next to each other. I think most of the McFarlane Supermans that are out there are, you know, a decent bit little shorter than her, but with the parts that I used, Superman does end up stacking up a little bit taller than her. We can move this one out of the way and try and get a better stand-in for them. We'll bring in a couple more. We can also bring in Thor for her, who she does stand a little bit taller than. They are technically different scales, so it would make sense, but I don't mind my Wonder Woman being of similar height and stature, because she is also an Amazon. Half Amazon, half God. Like, how many times you gotta say it? Well, she can be big. She can be big. Let her be big. The multiverse of mommy dommies, indeed, bro. Indeed. And we can also bring in her brother, Hercules, who is definitely a good little bit shorter, but you know, she's the big sis, maybe. I don't know. What's their relation? And take those out. Let's see who else we want to compare. I mean, I'm just grabbing a couple from the ones that we already have over here from the last comparisons with Zeus. So a bit of a rehash, but we do also have her with All Might. Now, my preference for Wonder Woman is certainly a bit of a bronze goddess, a little bit more tan. This Wonder Woman does run into the fault of being a wee bit pasty, but I also think that is attributed to the classic Wonder Woman look. You know, it feels like that's what they were going for. So I can't knock it for that. but you know, it would be nice to see this body maybe reused with a darker skin tone and an alternate head. That would be kind of fun. We'll see if that ever happens. And one of my personal favorite McFarlane figures is the Captain Carrot, who is just a absolute beefy boy. And while we're here, we can bring in this guy. This is going to be a nice transition, him being the next one. We got the McFarlane Toys. I don't know what people are calling him. Caveman, Batman, Freeze Point, Batman, Freezy Boy. Essentially, he's just Batman in a Frank Frazetta-esque style. You know, it feels like he's just Dark Wolf or, what was his name? Jaguar King from Frazetta's artwork and the Conan storyline. You know, he feels very Conan-esque. So that's the way that I think of him. I don't really even think of him as Batman. In my head canon, it's just some fanatic barbarian who loves Batman and wears a ton of Batman stuff. I don't know, but he's a pretty big beefy boy. He stacks up with Wonder Woman pretty well, and we'll keep him in the back over here as we come back around to him. He will probably be the next one we take a little bit more of an in-depth look at. And he has a hard time standing, which we will get to for sure. Let's see. What else would be fun to see against Wonder Woman? Mayhaps more female characters. Let me see if I can grab a couple. We can see how she stacks up with her I don't know what I'd say. Other women. All right, and we can bring in a couple more. This is going to be some of these figures a bit dusty on the shelf. We got Wolverine, who I know is absolutely thrilled right now. This is a whole lot of woman for him. And we'll also bring in, we got Ahsoka Tano from the Black Series for Season 7 appearance. Thought about getting the new one. Had it on pre-order. If it had come out sooner, I probably would have ended up with it. Because it didn't, I ended up canceling. I don't need another Ahsoka. It's cool to see her in her other Clone Wars look, but her Season 7 look was just so hard that I don't really think that I need another Ahsoka at this point. I've also got the Joy Toys Candy Frog, which almost nearly made my top 10 figures of last year. This was such an awesome figure. Daggone. She just did a hip thrust. Y'all see that? That's a violation. You just violated Ahsoka. But she's looked pretty good here. She's a bit on the taller side, but still no Wonder Woman. Then we've also got the Marvel Legends Black Widow that came out last year. Probably one of the best female figures from the Marvel Legends line. And lastly, we'll pull out Wolvie. We'll bring in the Fortnite Victory Royale Series Jules, final answer, Jules. Who I really just brought in just because she's another black-haired, well, she's not really blue-eyed, but, you know, green-eyed beauty. That's your mom. This is my mom. You really gonna share TikToks with me while I'm streaming? Come on. So as you can see, Wonder Woman is stout. She is a very large woman, which I think is sick, but may not be everyone's cup of tea. And in my shelf headcanon, Wonder Woman is married to Vegeta. So here we go. We got Vegeta in here. And I absolutely love the size discrepancy. I think this is so, it's just so fun. It's just so fun. Vegeta pulling it, you know. Things didn't work out with Bulma. Bulma was a little uncomfortable with the strange sort of, you know, will they, won't they kind of relationship Vegeta had with Goku. You know, they split. You know, Goku and him were like, yeah, we gotta tame this stuff, and they parted ways. Vegeta found Wonder Woman, decided she'd be a nice little beard for him, and you know, there you go. And then you got this wonderful Dami Mommy Muscle Princess and her short king. Honestly, couple goals. I think we will call it there with the Wonder Woman, so we can pull her out. And you can see the Lasso crew still staying off strong. I think if you use the method I used, it's probably the most easy way to keep it tame, and also not so overly complicated that, you know, anyone can do it. Bring in here. We got this old caveman Batman. This is from their Page Punchers line, so it does come with a comic book. I don't give a shit. I'm here for the figure. Comic book's cool. Not what I'm here for. Mostly I got the figure again because I don't have a Mezco Conan, and the resale prices on that are absolutely insane, and there's no way I will ever pay over $200, remotely close to $300 on a 6-inch figure. Sorry. Maybe one day I could get the King Conan that just got released, or it's still on pre-order. I don't think it's out yet. You know, maybe I'll be able to get it if I can get it at retail. We might actually have a Conan, but this kind of fills that void a little bit for me. You know, it feels very Frazetta, and I appreciate overall just the sculpt work and even the paint work on this figure is pretty nice. Now there are some things that are not so nice, but I think with a little modding, you can have a good time with it. You know, so. I thought about doing some modding on the figure on this stream, but the stream's already taken quite a bit of time, and I still got a couple more figures to go through. So we'll save that for another day. Maybe the same stream that I fixed Kragnar's ankle in. We can also do some modding on him. I don't know. We'll have a chill time with it. But overall, his aesthetic is great. I think the part that is the most standout is certainly this head sculpt. The sculpt is fantastic. The painting is fantastic. They really went way harder than I've ever seen McFarlane go on any figure's head and face, and he looks great for it. Again, he's very Dark Wolf, akin to Dark Wolf. So if anybody was ever eyeballing that Frazetta Girls figure for Dark Wolf that came out recently, that now I think resells for way too much just because they had a limited supply of it, and honestly the figure is pretty mediocre looking. This is a much nicer alternative that, although not identical to Dark Wolf, it shares enough of a striking resemblance that I think you'd be pleased, especially with it having, the way I see it, better articulation. So yeah, aesthetically he's great. The sculpt looks great. The musculature is fantastic. He's got a lot of scars and dings and whatnots. And he's just a sick little barbarian that I appreciate. Now, onto his shortcomings a little bit. As far as his articulation, it's honestly pretty great. He has more ab crunch than I've ever seen a McFarlane figure have in my life. And he goes back just as far. So they did not hold back on him here. And his arms, which typically I think the arms are usually a great spot for McFarlane. The butterfly joints usually work decently well. Their little rotator cuff joint You know, you get the double jointed elbows, which usually work pretty well. So I don't think he has any shortcomings in the upper body, but his legs are virtually immobile. I have one joint on this leg that is stuck in place, and I can heat it up, and I will heat it up to loosen it and try it out. I just haven't had the time yet. Oh, knocked the camera. And I think that whenever I eventually do that, I'll be like, well, I'm already here heating all this stuff up. Might as well start modding it. So I haven't fixed that yet, but that's locked, and no amount of force is going to fix it. It's just going to start pulling out the pegs up here, so I am not pushing it as much. This leg, though, it does crunch all the way with both of them, which is nice. He does have basically no thigh swivel. Like, you're not getting much of anything. That's just superficial flexing. That's not actually articulated, and it's a shame, because for a barbarian guy like this, I want him to be able to, you know, get squat and lower down and have his legs kind of going out, and I can't really do that as much with it. Another point of issue is that you know, talking about the lock joint here, his ankles are also locked. So at the top of the what would you call it, the hinge and swivel joint in his ankle, it doesn't swivel at the top, you know, and I'm not gonna really crank that, because I will certainly break it. So I have to, again, heat that up, try and loosen it up, and see if I can get it to where it will, you know, start to move more comfortably. And then I have seen some people talk about the detents in the foot being a little too extreme, so it's hard to get him to stand up straight. This foot is kind of fine for him. It's kind of loosened up. This one definitely has those pretty harsh detents that are not the best at all. But you know, I think with some modding, what I would probably do is I would go in here and cut out a bit of the plastic on the back of these thighs, which it really doesn't have much, so maybe it's just an issue with it not unlocking in there. I don't know. Maybe it's as simple as just a little heating up to do that. But his torso won't need any modding. Again, he can really crunch as much as I would really want him to. So I don't think that needs any modding. Just really in the legs, you know, heating him up, getting these to be able to turn, and maybe seeing if we can, you know, obviously loosen that joint up, but then also add a little thigh swivel. And I think you get that, and you have a what I would consider borderline 10 out of 10 figure. But as it stands straight out of the box with those issues and the difficulty of getting to stand because you don't really have much manipulation in the legs, I'd give him a 6. You know, it definitely hampers it a lot. But again, I do a little modding on him, and I definitely think this will be like a 9 to 10 out of 10 figure for the price. Just because aesthetically it's so sick. It moves pretty well outside of those leg issues, and I think this again is another hit from McFarlane, which we haven't seen as much from them. Like they've just been going off lately, I think. But he's there. I do notice that we didn't really go through much of the articulation on Wonder Woman, which is a shame, but it's pretty standard McFarlane stuff. The only places I would say are noteworthy is she doesn't have the diaphragm joint, so she does only kind of move. I'll straighten that back up. She does only move at the waist, which I don't mind. I think it looks great. It makes it very seamless and aesthetically pleasing. She cranks back really far. She doesn't go forward very far. She does tilt side to side pretty decent amount. One day I might go in there, mod it out so that I can get more crunch forward. Some people are saying it could be just hindered by this, and if it was real, she'd stab. I don't care, right? This is flexible. It gets out of the way, just mush to the back. It just has something to do with the way they did the joint inside. That just with a little extra freed up room to move, she'd be great with that. She also doesn't have the most thigh swivel. She does have more than Caveman Batman, but definitely could use more. Maybe I'll go in and mod that on her as well. But with her being such a desired figure, I'm a little bit more hesitant, you know, to do the mods. Not that I'd mess it up. I've done enough mods, and I don't think I've had one that really got messed up yet. Fingers crossed. It's just more so that, I don't know, some people are very weird about you modding a figure that are like that, and you know, it makes me a bit more hesitant. But I don't know that I'm planning on reselling her or anything, so I'd probably do it. Anyways, we got Caveman Batman. Let's bring in a couple size comparisons I think are apt. First and foremost, of course, another Barbarian. We got the Masters of the Universe He-Man, which they scale pretty dang good. They're about the same size, I'd say. Maybe Caveman Batman is slightly larger. We're playing a little bit of camera tricks here, I think. Methinks. I don't know. He's a big old gladiator, and I love it. I also might just take off this cape. Like, the cape is kind of cool. They did a decent job. It's very flexible. But you could really just rip it out there, and he would still look perfectly fine without the cape. Maybe he would look a little less Batman, but again, I don't even think of him as a Batman figure. It doesn't really matter that he's Batman. That's just a cool little addition, I guess. So I might just remove the cape or make my own custom one in the future, depending on how I'm feeling about it. But anyways, there we have him against He-Man. And who else am I going to bring in? Of course, as I'm going to do with each time, I have anybody remotely DC related. We've got Superman. Just very proud of my own custom Superman. Got to bring him in. But you know, even against the Superman, this barbarian Batman is still just a big old beefy boy. He's built like a truck. The man is wider than most door frames. He's wider than a regulation door frame. Who makes these regulations? And we can bring in another barbarian. So here we go. We got the Hercules. Just a handful of barbarians going on here. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Take a look at my shelf. See if there's anything else that looks interesting to bring in. We can do this guy. We got a handful more to bring in over here. So we'll take He-Man and Hercules. Get those out of there. Get him to set back up. Again, these feet, bro. They kills me, these legs. I think with some modding, he'd be a 10 out of 10 figure, but without it, he don't even come close. We've got a little bit of a littler boy. We've got the Marvel Legends Namor from Wakanda Forever, who is definitely in a different weight class than this barbarian Batman. Somebody who is in a more comparable weight class, I would say, is this McFarlane Toys Kotal Khan, who I think looks pretty sick alongside him. And we've got the this boy hella dusty. This one's I need to go in and dust some boys. This is the Master of the Universe Skeletor, which I have done a couple little extra painting mods myself with the nails on his toes and feet, a little wash in some of the crevices. This was probably one of my earliest custom paint jobs on a figure. You know, almost 2 years ago at this point. But you know, I still think it looks pretty good. So there we go. We got Skeletor in there, and let's take those out of there and go for one last comparison. I think would be fun. Got to put them alongside just a good old regular Batman. We've got the McFarlane Toys Nightfall Batman, who is my classic Batman for the shelf, and you can see this caveman version of Bruce. He must have found some of that TRT out there, or the HRT out in caveman times. Some sort of performance enhancing drugs have definitely entered this man's system, because he is a beefcake. So pretty interesting. Again, I don't think of him as a Batman. I just don't. I just can't really see him as a Batman. He doesn't make me feel like he's a Batman. He just feels like a piece of Frazetta artwork in figure form with just a fun little Batman accoutrement. So that's that boy. He looks pretty good. Who can we go for next? We'll bring him in for a size comparison. What the figure we'll look at next, even if it doesn't really matter as much. So I guess we can do this one because he's a oh lord, he's a bit more of an average Joe. So we've got the Mezco Toys Prune Face, which God, I love this figure. Put him alongside there. So you just got a normal kind of average Joe guy next to him. I say that knowing that he is probably larger than Namor. Yeah. So Namor might have been more of the average Joe. But yeah, we can take him out of there and we'll move on to Prune Face next. And Prune Face, this is Mezco Toys. Obviously, they're starting their Dick Tracy line, which I think is pretty fun. And this guy, just for being fundamentally just a guy in a suit, he just oozes character. And, you know, he is peak Mezco, you know, as far as his accessories, as far as his overall sculpt, the cloth goods. To me, a character like this is where Mezco shines the most. You know, they do the occasional superhero. They do the occasional, you know, spandex suit. But it's in moments like this that I think they do the best, that they shine the most. And this figure just looks great. So there's a lot to go through with him, a lot to go through. So I'm going to try and keep it fairly simple. I do have most of his accessories put away at this point. I got him a little while ago. But he has stayed on my shelf, or stayed on my desk. He has not gone on the shelf, except for like one day where I put him up there, and then I was like, oh, I want to play with him again. He's just such a fun figure to handle. He weighs a nice amount. Like, he's not heavy, but he feels balanced. You know, like all of his weight feels so evenly distributed. It's hard to explain until you know held him in hand compared to some other figures. He's not top heavy. He's not bottom heavy. He's just right. He's the Goldilocks of action figures in a lot of ways. He does come with a lot of these cigarettes, which is really fun to give him these smoke trails. I have seemingly misplaced one of them, but hopefully it'll turn up again. He did come with 3 of them, which is a good thing. And with his hat and his glasses on, you know, he gives a lot of Oppenheimer vibes, right? So we got some Oppenheimer, we got a little bit of Al Capone, and we got a little bit of Old Man Jenkins, you know, all kind of mixed into one fun little package with it, which I think is pretty sick. So we can take off his hat, and we can take off these glasses, which he does come with 2 pairs of these glasses, which while we're here, this is a fun little thing. The glasses do actually fit perfectly onto our boy Zeus, which is kind of cool. I don't know. He kind of looks like that bad guy from the Men in Black 3. Boris, is that his name? They fit him just right. They go right over the ear. They tuck right in. It looks great. You know, you can even take off his crown if you're not feeling that combo. Well, if I can. There we go. Totally gives Zeus a completely different feel, which is kind of fun. And because Prune Face does come with 2 pairs, you know, an extra one just in case you lose one. You know, it might find its way onto Zeus. I don't know. But again, I'll probably make a custom head for Zeus, so I don't know that really matters, but it's just fun. It's just fun. And once you take off the hat and the glasses, you get a very different vibe with Prune Face, I think. He has kind of that somber sort of like, you know, I have sympathy for you, but I don't have pity. You know, I understand what you've been through. I understand who you are, but I don't have pity for your situation. It's really cool. I think his trench coat is just so well done. It's so well done. Got a little wire. A wire only goes along the bottom. It doesn't go along the front, which really doesn't matter. It doesn't make an issue at all. You know, you can essentially get the coat in whatever poses you want, just with that wire at the bottom. And that's pretty great. So he does look really good. He does come with a handful of different faces or head sculpts. He comes with like a smiling one, a gritting teeth one that's a little bit more angry, and I think he might even come with one that's smiling, and then one that's yelling. So I think there's 4 other head sculpts maybe. He comes stacked to the nines with accessories. And the accessory that I think is the most fun that he comes with, although I don't intend on going through every accessory he does come with, I gotta showcase this one because it's just so fun. It comes with a typewriter, which looks so cool. You have Chester printed on it, all the keys individually done. The slide does go back and forth, so if you wanted to do an animation with this, it would make a nice little animation piece. And it does fit actual pieces of paper. So the piece of paper you have to cut and put in yourself. So this is, my own paper. But it does fit in, and it rolls right around, and it looks great. The effect is stellar. And then you can pop off this back piece. I'm trying to remember. There it goes. And you can see that because he is prune face, this is a bunch of spy gear in here. So he's got a bit of a radio situation going on, and you can plug in. Let's see, we can probably pull those out. Where is that? His accessories are fun, so it is. I don't think it's a bad idea to spend a little time enjoying some of them. But it does come with these headphones, which also look pretty great, and they have a functioning auxiliary cable that can plug in directly into the back of it. And then he can wear his headphones and take in covert messages. And it's pretty fun. It's really fun accessories. He also comes with this gas mask. Because apparently Pruneface is he was like an ex, in the story of Dick Tracy, he was like an ex German officer during World War II or something. Or like scientist, and he worked on nerve gas. So he was he's a nerve gas guy, and he comes with a bunch of nerve gas grenades and smoke effects and stuff, which is pretty sick. He comes with extra pistols and such, and of course he comes with this gas mask, which just goes right on, super easy. And it, again, changes up his vibes completely. This character just has so many different modes. You can have him just be that nice little grandpa who's got a very strange wrinkle pattern, but, he is called Pruneface for a reason. Which is one thing I really like about him, is they didn't go as literal with him just being like a raisin-faced guy. He does look like he could potentially just be a normal guy who has some kind of strange wrinkles, which I feel like I've seen people with wrinkles in this sort of Thanos formation before. Like they didn't really go too over the top with it. I think he looks still just enough like a nice little old man, as much as he does look like somebody with the name Pruneface. And some of the guns he comes with, he does come with a grease gun or an MP40. Isn't it also called a grease gun? Am I tripping, or am I thinking of a different gun? I swear it was. Extendable stock, which does come out pretty easy. But you can pop it right back in. And again, it comes with pistols, hands, alternate heads. I could go through all of it. I'm not going to. It comes with a scarf, which it doesn't have a wire in it. The scarf does look kind of cool, but I kind of like him without. My ideal look is without the scarf, with the hat and the glasses, giving him that Oppenheimer look. He just comes out looking pretty fun. So let's pop off these hands. And we can take off the jacket just to see what he actually looks like. The tailoring on it is fantastic. The suit looks great. The materials that they used are awesome. And if you were to take off his jacket, his build is kind of slender. Like he's been working out. Pruneface never stopped trying to stay fit. He's got that build, which is just kind of a byproduct, I think, of the body that they chose for him, just to make sure that the clothing all fit. But it does add, if you, again, extend your storytelling legs a little bit while playing with him, it does add a nice little intrigue to his own thing. What was it called that, Brian, you know what I'm talking about, the salami, it's his salami. He add a little salami there. This guy works out, he keeps fit, he stays with it, which is pretty sick. You got the belt, the actual belt. It's crazy, man. Mezco never hasn't impressed me. Every figure that I've gotten from them. I'm also very careful to not get every figure that comes out, but only to get the figures that really feel like they'd be something that I'd get, and I'd be like, yes, this is awesome. And when they announced Pruneface, it was kind of wild because I was looking at him and I was like, this figure is really speaking to me. I don't know anything about Dick Tracy. I don't really care about Dick Tracy. I probably will not get the Dick Tracy figure. But this Pruneface, he's just a simple kind of a mafia gangster guy. Could be, you know, a stand-in for Joe Chill, you know, killer who killed Batman's parents or something. You could really just fit him anywhere on a shelf and he'd still kind of work. And his overall look is undeniably awesome. And Mezco never fails to impress with just the level of care and attention they put into the soft goods, the painting, the accessories. Everything hits. And then on top of it all, they're well articulated figures. They're not amazing Yamaguchi, they're not Mafex, you know, they're not going to downright impress you with their articulation. It's not their standout feature, but it's good. It's better than most, and he can really, you know, get down. He can really crunch. His legs can really go up. Obviously, you want to be a little careful not to mess up the clothing, but he's got double jointed knees, great ankle articulation. There's really not much that he can't do, and it's a sick figure. This might be one of my favorites I've gotten this year so far. I try to be pretty careful about what figures I do choose to get, at least at this point in my collection. In the past, maybe not so much, but I try to make sure that it's something that I feel like I'd get and enjoy, and not just something like, ooh, character I like, must get. It's, you know, I spend a lot of time watching videos and analyzing photos and absolutely hyperfixating, hint name of the series, Hyperfix, on these little pieces of plastic, and trying to take note of everything that I can that would matter to me, so that by the time I get in person, I'm not ever disappointed or surprised, except for in the case of like something like the Caveman Batman. I couldn't have really known how bad the legs would end up being, but in most cases, you know, they end up being pretty much what I expect, because I do the extra research to make sure that I know what I'm getting into. He's got a lot of these little cat hairs on him, but I think it looks great. Again, my preferred look for him is the hat and the glasses like this, the very, very Oppenheimer look. And he just looks sick. He really does. Took some really fun photos with him on my Instagram. You should go check them out. I think they came out really great. Some of my favorite photos I've taken. And, you know, it just makes me appreciate the figure that much more. So, anyways, we can do a couple size comparisons, I suppose, with him. He's really just your standard figure, but we can bring in some people who would be kind of fun to see him next to. We got him, since we got him here, he's got soft goods. We've got the V-Toys Asura Red Demon, which I think looks great alongside him. And we'll also bring in the Mezco Toys Attic, which I also think looks pretty freaking cool next to him. Toys, Jutsu Inui, and a couple of trench coat boys. And then let's bring in, I guess, your standard sort of G.I. Joe figure. We've got General Hawk, which is pretty tight. You can see he and General Hawk scale pretty well together. He seems to be in a pretty similar scale to a G.I. Joe type figure. And for a bit of an oddball, we can bring in the Fortnite Victory Royale Series Ripley. Just because why not? You know, we're here. What do you think Pruneface would do if he saw Ripley? He'd be like, what the hell? What the hell is even that? But yeah, I think it's a great figure. Great looking figure. Looks awesome alongside all these guys. You know, we've got a couple Mezcos here. Mezco, they really do have a place in my heart. My girlfriend, Ezzy, who happens to be in the stream, got me a Mezco Frankenstein for my birthday, which was really fun, really nice. And he even him, he's one of their older figures, so there's some strange articulation choices, right? They have a pretty consistent and effective formula with articulation now, so that Frankenstein has some interesting things going on. But even aside from that, the figure is just really cool. You know, no matter, even if it has some strange things that date it a little bit, they're still just figures that feel like they have a lot of heart and care put into their execution. And you know, no doubt something they do great. I think V-Toys, you know, is kind of filling that void of an overseas sort of third party that's doing a very similar thing with the soft goods and the really nice painting, and they fit right in. You know, I feel like he feels like he could fit right into a Mezco display. And yeah, and even then, without soft goods, not every figure needs them. I think a lot of figures benefit from not having them, but a character like Pruneface absolutely benefits from having them, and I could not see him without. So yeah, so you can go ahead and get those out of there. And we'll take Pruneface out of there. Before we do, let's see who's gonna be the next one. We definitely gotta do one. Where is he? Well, we can do this one. Let's be a quick one. We've shown him a couple times. It's the Black Series Mandalorian, who obviously gets sort of overshadowed in stature by Pruneface a bit. It tells me that Pruneface is, you know, a little bit more intimidating than I expected, which is kind of cool. But this is definitely one of the best Mandalorian figures out there. Like, I didn't have a Mandalorian on my shelf. I had a Boba Fett. I had a what else? Had a Boba Fett, and I had the Death Watch Mandalorian that recently came out because it was a great figure. But I wasn't as interested in the previous Black Series. I think the previous Black Series, as most people would likely be on the same page with and agree, were kind of lackluster, didn't really look as much like the character, were just kind of not quite it. And, you know, there are other options out there with SH Figure Arts and Mafex, but neither one of them really quite did it for me, especially not for the price I'd have to pay. Mafex was good, but there's some things about it I just don't like the look of, and the SH Figure Arts is just, the first one. The 2.0 looks kind of cool. I almost got it instead, but in the vein of saving some money and not always having to, you know, get the most expensive one, I went for this one. You know, and for a $25 figure, he is easily one of the best Mandalorian figures you can get. He comes with all the accessories you could really want for this character, with his backpack. The only thing that he doesn't come with, or with his jetpack, but the only thing that he doesn't really come with is that Beskar spear. I can't remember what the name of it is. Sorry, don't care enough. But he does come with the Darksaber, his pistol. Doesn't come with his rifle because that got blown up in the Razor Crest during Season 2, I believe. I don't know. That's just me regurgitating information that I heard somebody else say, so it sounds about right, seems about right. But he comes with, you know, most of the things you could want from him. The articulation is pretty great. He uses, he's kind of built on the same buck that the Death Watch Mando was built on, so he moves very fluid and naturally. It doesn't mean that he always can get in the most dynamic action poses, but he does have, you know, the ability to get into some nice, simple stances that make him feel fluid and like a little person, which I don't think the previous Black Series one did. Also, the cloth cape is nice. Just a great figure that very happy with. So he's a bit of a quick one. I guess we can do a couple size comparisons, but I'm going to keep it kind of brief with him. we'll keep it pretty straightforward with just a couple of Mandalorians. We've got Boba Fett. This is the Mafex Boba Fett for, I believe, Empire Strikes Back. He's also has a broken rocket. Don't look at the tip of his rocket. It's kind of rude. We'll fix that one day as well. We've got the Black Series Bo-Katan and the Black Series Paz Vizsla, or Heavy Mandalorian, as I think this figure came out before he got his name. So yeah, he looks great. He looks great alongside all of them. Can't complain. Great figure. So we'll pull him out of the way, and next, who will we go with? Let's see. Where is he? There's that boy. Now this was a bit of an unexpected grab for me. I'm not a huge Mythic Legions collector. I do have one Mythic Legions. I have the dwarf like cavern dwarf builder pack thing, I think. I don't know what it's called. And the Cosmic Legions Kragnar. But this figure really just sung, man. Like, it's so cool, so unique, so interesting. This is the Mythic Legions Poxus, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You know, akin to the name of the people who make the figures. Gosh, I got so much gas, man. I keep trying to like burp or hiccup. But it's a cool figure. Like, I wasn't really keeping up with it. I was just kind of scrolling through, and I just saw some pictures, and I was just like, man, that is so unique, so different, and so artistic. And I looked more into it, and obviously the Mythic Legions is made by a company called 4 Horsemen, so a big part of the Mythic Legions lore is these 4 horsemen in it. And I've seen some of the previous ones. They weren't as cool to me. And I think the next wave is pretty cool because you have their personification of the Horseman of Death, which I kind of like his Harbinger instead of him, the death itself, because he is more of a traditional death, whereas their interpretation of the actual Horseman Death is a bit more ornate and involved aesthetically, which is really cool. I do like it. But it's also more expensive, and if I can save a little bit more and get a traditional death that fits the deal that I'm looking for, then that's more what I would be interested in. So that might be another Mythic Legions that I get in the future. But outside of that, I don't, collect the majority of them, or the bulk of them. But Poxus really stood out to me, and the more I kind of looked into it, the more I thought it was interesting, because he is meant to be the first horseman of the apocalypse that's listed off as having a crown and a beard, riding a white horse. And, he fits that description. He has a crown made of bug legs, and he has a beard, a very strange, gangly looking one. And his horse is indeed white, but is also rotting, because that original depiction kind of depicts him as the first horseman of the apocalypse as Conquest. In later depictions, it was Plague and Pestilence. Which is a different kind of conquest. The commonality between them being that conquest is the spread of something. At that time, they were thinking of like the spread of religion and the oppression of people spreading and forcing religion on one another, depicted as the first horseman conquest. And later, it was a different kind of oppressive spreading in the form of plague and pestilence, during a time that was much more prevalent. So this is more of the plague and pestilence one, but also he is typically the horseman that is associated with the Antichrist. So in a way, this is a figure of the Antichrist, which is kind of interesting. You can see he's got this halo going on, very reminiscent of medieval and Renaissance era sort of halo in paintings before we had that more modern sonic ring on top of their head. This is, much more classic in that sense, and it kind of plugs in a very interesting way using this carapace that holds his wings. The only problems I have with the figure is that he does kind of have a couple joints that are a bit looser than I would like. He does pop apart a little too easy, although I do, not worry too much about that, because I know that the whole point of the line is that you can pop and swap parts and create your own custom figures, so that's cool, whatever. But he does have like a very loose wing. This wing is very loose, and it will hold if you kind of press and hold. You can get it. If I can Get it to stay in. You can get it to hold in a position, but it's not always easy. I'll pop that back in. So you can get it to stay. But you know, it can be a bit of a pain. Daggone. And that's another thing they do. They don't stay in the greatest. With his wings in, he's not the most fun figure to play with, but without them in, he's a pretty fun guy. Mythic Legions have a very consistent and simple articulation scheme with single jointed elbows and knees, and just a cut at the waist that has a ball joint in it. Simple ball joint neck. But as you can see, he's got a very fluid stance here that I've got him in, just because the joints, although simple, are very effective. You know, there's some companies that use single jointed elbows and things like that that don't quite nail it, but a lot of the joints on this figure feel buttery smooth. They have great range, and you know, it shows that less is more principle kind of applies here. And he's just a great little thing. I think he looks great. Obviously, everything is removable, and you can take off. You can take off his skirts. You can take off his gauntlets, his shoulder plates. You can take off this burlap kind of, I don't know, neckerchief that he's got around his neck. You can take it all off, take off the wings and everything. But this is my preferred look for him. Him standing here like this, with his wings, with his halo, with his whole attire. I think he looks great, kind of reaching out with the come hither hand. Accessory wise, he does come with some loose gripping hands, some tighter gripping hands, and then an extra left gripping hand for some reason. I'm not sure why, but he does come with an extra gripping hand just in case, I guess, which is nice. He does also come with his bows, which is another part of the description of the horseman. That horseman of the apocalypse is that he comes in with a bow, only bridging that gap. You know, with such a simple description, like, he matches it, but he's so far off from what most people's immediate interpretation of that would be, and I think that's what makes it so fun, is because it does match the description, but it is such a creative interpretation that takes its own liberties to be what it wants to be. So we got the bow here, and then he also has this sort of activated bow that has these wings on it. And outside of the wings, though, it's the exact same sculpt. And they both have, flexible bowstrings so you can pull back to actually give it that bow feeling, which is something that does get kind of left out a lot of times with other bow accessories from other companies. He also comes with a couple arrow effects. You've got the single fire one, and it's kind of like an energy effect, and you get this locust on the end of it. Pretty sick, cannot lie. And then he comes with this sort of multi-fire one with a bunch of larger locusts shooting at you. Really cool. And of course, he's got to keep his arrows somewhere, so he does come with a quiver, which I'm not entirely sure where this attaches. I would think maybe somewhere on the belt, but you can't really put it on the back without it interfering with these other accessories. So I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't end up being on him in my preferred look for the shelf on him. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I believe this is his last accessory, is this tiny little dagger, which is pretty cool. I need to see if I can get this clipped on, because I would like him to actually have this on him. I think it looks cool. Nice little splash of color. And it is, of course, removable. The dagger looks great, very pointy. Definitely not for the children. And yeah, this is Poxus, the horseman of plague and pestilence, the Antichrist, if you will. And we can bring in a couple figures to compare him to, I guess. The only other mythic legions that I have is going to be this dwarf. Oh, I lost this one. Bear with me. There it is. Right here. So this is the only other Mythic Legions in my collection. It's not because I don't love the figures. I think they're great. It's just that's a whole nother can of worms that I'm trying to not fully open up. Katniss Everdeen archetype indeed. This is what Katniss wishes she was. But he is definitely a taller figure, so let's see. I want to bring in a standard size, kind of normalish figure, but also one that would be fun to see him alongside. So give me just a second, and I'm gonna see what I can cook up. Okay, so there's a bit of a random one, but I don't pull this figure out enough, so it'll be fun. We've got the Black Series Star Killer, which is I would say is a pretty average-sized 6-inch figure. So you can see Poxus is definitely a little larger, which I do like. I'm not taking into account scaling, right? Mythic Legion scales a little bit big. It doesn't matter. If it suits the character, that's really what I'm looking for, and I do think it suits the character to be larger. He is a dark god, after all, and I think that looks pretty cool. We also have the Black Series. I didn't think I had a lot of bug-themed figures, but I have a couple. So we have that, I can't remember this guy's name, from Mandalorian, the droid, that very buggish-looking head. Somebody tell me his name in the description or in the comments below. And then we've got the Fortnite solo mode series Moth Mando. So there's a couple little buggy boys for you. And yeah, Poxus is pretty intimidating, pretty sick. You can get those handful out of there. And we'll bring in some larger figures who are definitely going to be larger than him, but I think it can help you appreciate where his size kind of stands. So we've got Darth Malgus again, who is a little bit taller than Plagueis. Poxus. This is not Darth Plagueis. You can see where it puts my mind, though. And then we can bring in, we'll bring in Zeus again. You know, different type of god. And I think we'll also bring in, let's move these guys out of there. Since we're dealing with a little sword and sorcery and this sort of mythical knightness, we can bring back in Aridin. Very kind of similar if you think about the Wild Hunt in Witcher. They're very Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse kind of coded. So this feels very apt. Really cool. Anyways, I think that's really all we can say about Poxus at this point. I think he looks great. I think he's a sick figure. Highly recommend him even if you're not a Mythic Legions collector. He could be a good gateway into it. We'll bring him in close. You can take a look at some of his closer details for a second before we pull him out. He does have very detailed, very decayed, corpse-like face with these insect legs crawling up. He's got all of these pieces on his belt with more insect legs, this pouch of insect, which maybe it like opens up and there's just a bunch of locusts that come out. These like vials. It's pretty sick. There's a wire in the cape. He does have, you know, just standard, typical kind of knight-like Mythic Legions legs, which I think work well enough. think without the shoulder pads, he looks kind of weird because he does have very bony, skinny arms. So I think the shoulder pads help fill out his shape. And I think overall, he's a very strategically put together figure. And considering the Mythic Legions line is all about strategic reuse, so there's a lot of reuse parts in here. I think he comes out feeling just very unique and like his own figure. If you didn't know that was a part of the Mythic Legions line, you'd just be happy to have a cool looking figure on its own. And I think that's where it shines the most. So that is Poxus. And I think we might be onto one of the... Oh, no, okay, we do have a couple more figures. Let's show these real quick. This is going to be the Jazzwares solo mode. I don't remember the character's name. Is it Soul? She got Soul written on her skirt. This is just a fun little like $9 figure you can get at Walmart. That's fun. They're so well articulated for their size and scale. Lots of detail going on in these cheap little figures. As anybody who's familiar with my channel knows, in my top 10 figures, the Fortnite solo mode monks made it into my top 10 figures because I just think they're so cool. I don't think this figure is as cool as monks, but she does have a very different body proportion than any figure they've done in the line so far that I've seen. And I think that's really cool because you don't see a lot of that crazy variation in the 1/18th scale in my experience. So having her be this skinnier build and still be a pretty solid figure is really fun and nice. The only thing she comes with is her pickaxe, which I am not going to pull out right now. So she doesn't come with much as far as accessories, but she's just a fun, cool little figure that is fun to throw in the mix. And then, speaking of little figures, the Jada Toys Mega Man. Oh my gosh, man. This figure is just so much fun. I grew up playing a lot of Mega Man on my Game Boy. I've always loved Mega Man. I had the Mega Man collection on my GameCube. He's just so fun. I've always loved his classic sort of OG look, his Rockman look, if you will. And Jada Toys nailed it. He's so chibi, so cute, so appealing. He does come with a swappable arm if you're not feeling the cannon. Also comes with alternate hands that are kind of splayed out and open if you're not feeling the fist. Comes with a gritting kind of screaming face, angry face for when he's firing it off. Comes with a fire effect. Comes with a nice little bit of accessories, and his articulation is just so good for a little guy such as this. You can get him crunching and sitting down. You can really get him kind of cranked in. He doesn't have butterfly joints, but boy does he not need it because he can get across the body so well. You know, he's just going in, man. He's got that his little cannon going off. It's just such a cool figure. And this figure is only $20 retail. Like, I know he's kind of having some stock issues because I think the demand is pretty high, and Jada Toys is still kind of new to the figure scene, so they're, I think, trying to still feel out how much they can produce of a figure and it reasonably sell. But between this and their Street Fighter figures, they're going off, and I think they got to know that they've got something, and they could really start to branching out into other lines. I know they're supposed to do some Cyberpunk Edge Runners figures, which is I'm super excited about. I love Edge Runners. Brown, I know you love Edge Runners. Shout out to the Edge Runner boys. It's just nice. They nailed it. Figure sick. $20. If you can get it for $20, you got to. You've got to, because you will not find a more satisfying or fun figure at that price point that can move the way he does and just feels satisfying. He's got a satisfying heft to him. He doesn't feel brittle. He feels solid, man. And I know there's supposed to be that MDLX Mega Man being made by 3-0, which does look really cool. And it's honestly not that badly priced. It's about twice as much as this figure in cost. It'll be a similar size, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how well they are able to compete with this, because I don't know that I don't know how much better you can do with it. This is just so fun, so great, and for $20, I can't see myself needing a $50 Mega Man figure that is not going to, I just can't imagine it making me more happy than this figure did, you know. So anyways, Mega Man is so sick. And I believe we are on to the last figure take my dog out. Stop doing this. This has been fun little experiment. Hopefully people watch this after the fact, and if you guys end up enjoying the idea, I will try and do these every week. Hopefully like an hour or two, just sit and talk about figures. Hopefully it usually won't be this long, because this one did take a little bit longer than I was expecting to go through all of these, but it's fun. It's what I'm here for, and it's a lot less time than it's a commitment to make videos. So if you guys want to tune in, I will hopefully be doing these every Tuesday. That's my plan, but don't hold me to it. We'll kind of play it by ear, but I will always try and put out notifications ahead of time to make sure everybody knows what time the streams will start, what times they will happen, and hopefully more people will watch the VOD and tune in for the next ones. And I've got some good ideas for some upcoming ones that'll be a little bit more interesting than just going through figures I've gotten recently. But I'm not much of a review person. I don't really enjoy going through reviewing things in much of the technical sense, and when I found myself starting to slip into it a little bit more because I didn't know what else videos to make, I started to not enjoy it as much. Like my Darth Vader video or my Shredder video, like they're all right, but they weren't near as fun for me in the long run. And I don't want to make a habit of just becoming a toy reviewer. It's just not my thing. I just like to talk about them and appreciate the things that I notice from my perspective, and just hang out. So I think the stream will be a much better format for that. But the last figure that I've gotten, I believe this is the last one. Oh God, I can't remember what all figures I had set up at the beginning, but I think this is the last one. This is the new NECA Dungeons & Dragons Elkhorn, which is just so, like, we're getting so many good figures in 2024 so far, and for this to be a $30 figure, because I got this figure like 26, 27 bucks, because I had a coupon on Target, and I had some Target cash or something. I don't know. After it all, I paid like $27 after tax. I think it retails for like $34.99, I want to say. And I found a few in Target. They had a handful in there. So go to your Targets, check them out, because this figure is easily one of the the Mega Man is a great value. This one is so much more, so an incredible value. Like from paint to details. Like if I pull him in close, you can see that face. Man, they put so much life into it. The texturing on the face, the eyes. The way they dry brush the beard with the little blue to kind of bring out all the details. I don't think the stream quality is going to really do this justice, but it is, trust me when I say it is so aesthetically appealing. And on the box they have this Dungeons & Dragon art that looks so cool, and I was hoping that we would get a head sculpt of him with his open mouth like he had on there, because it just looks so good. And of course they included it. And it's so great. They do the thing where you put a little gloss on the eyes and in the mouth to give it a little bit of that extra wetness. And it just really makes these head sculpts sing. So I think you gotta appreciate it. The amount of care and attention they put into it is fantastic. The paint apps are all so clean, so crisp, no slop anywhere. Like, this is peak NECA. Like, I don't have a ton of NECA figures. I do have a handful. Mostly TMNT, because I like the turtles. But they usually are pretty sick. I can't act like they're not, but when I look at some of the figures, like, I'm not a huge fan of their, like, live action, like, Back to the Future or Alien or you name it, whatever ones. My dog be barking now. Whatever. Okay. All right. We gotta stop that. I gotta stop him real quick, guys. I'll be right back. Don't want him barking the whole time. All right, guys. So where was I? Elkhorn's just sick. Okay, NECA be doing that thing. They really nailed it here. A lot of their live action stuff I'm not the hugest fan of. I don't really like the scale of them. I think some of the head sculpts look a little weird. The sculpts don't really work that well, but when they do things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Dungeons and Dragons here, like, they kill it. And this is kind of making me almost contemplate getting... I'm not as much into the guy with the snakes and stuff. Grim Knight? I don't know what it's called. Not as much into him, but the other one, it's like Strongheart or something. The Night Guy, I am kind of thinking about a little bit more now after getting this, even if he is going to be a big old figure, just because this is just so well done. They really killed it. He got his little rat tail going. He got a little ponytail action, which I did not know he was going to have, and that was such a fun discovery. The only minor criticism I had is that this knife sheath is so tight, and as you can see, it's already started skinning off some of the paint, which I could redo on my own one day. Like, I'm not too concerned about it, but this bitch is tight, I'm telling you. So getting it in and out can be a bit of a chore, and I did end up removing it from the piece that it was on. I had to re-glue it back in. So that's something to keep in mind when doing that. But outside of that, articulation is fun. It moves really smooth. It moves really great. He looks great. You can really get into some fun poses. Like, you're not gonna, again, you expect what you can expect. You're not gonna get him into the craziest poses ever. But for me, a lot of times, I'm much more interested in the characterized poses. Like, some people, like The Amazing, are absolutely incredible when it comes to action poses, and they're fun. And I do like to do them every once in a while. But I'm really thinking about just the character acting, them standing there just experiencing and being themselves. And this figure has plenty of articulation to help you get them into some really nice characterized poses that feel lively, which is a big thing. I know a lot of people, I see a lot of people who struggle with getting them into nice neutral standing poses. But some of these figures really do come to life when you just get them standing there right, not in that factory like T-pose, A-posing kind of thing, but a little bit of canter to it, a little bit of weight distribution. It also helps you stand your figures better. You don't have to do all this guesswork. You don't have to play this balancing act. You know that your figure's going to stand because you've balanced him. And this figure, he just looks great. He comes with the thing that really makes this figure worth the $20 to $30 you can get him for is the accessories. He comes with so many. We've got, obviously, he's got an axe, he's got a hammer, all with this beautiful dwarven aesthetic. They look so good. And he comes with this sword and a sheath. They all look so good. The sculpt work on them is phenomenal. The paint, the wood texture, the washes to bring out the oily kind of details of the metal. So good, so crisp, so clean. Substantial hard plastic. None of that flimsy sort of situation you get with the McFarlane ones. To me, this is night and day, and you're talking about two figures that are pretty much around the same price. At retail, not talking about resale. The Elkhorn and Wonder Woman are pretty much the same price retail, in that $30 range. And the Elkhorn is just so good. The axe looks incredible. This giant hammer. You get these riveted rings to kind of push out some of the cushion for gripping. Real substantial. Get a little hammer action going. You got this smaller one with this little hook on the end. Just as nice. Nice leather wrap detail. They really didn't have to go as hard as they did, but they did. And this sword with the sheath looks great. You'll see where it pegs on here in a minute. This wonderful little egg boy on the what's that called? The pommel? I think it's called a pommel. So cool. Little egg boy. And it does obviously unsheath. Awesome dwarven sort of details. And it just slides right in. Very rigid, very hard. No bendy, flimsy, again, comparing it to the McFarlane, because I think it's an apt comparison. You're talking about something that's very flexible and gummy, which is nice. You don't have to worry about it breaking, but this is just so much more aesthetically appealing. And sheaths right in there. And as far as those two studs, they go on this beautiful little backpack that he comes with. So the backpack has two holes here. The sword just goes right there. And you get this nice effect of feeling like the straps that are going around the bag are actually matching where the sword is. And this piece, this little sleeping mat that he comes with is a very, let me move this sword out of the way so I can really crank it, is very squishy. very flexible, which is kind of fun. The rest of it's kind of hard. It does untab. You can pop things in there, such as a couple of the other accessories that he comes with. One of them. And he's really the only character that I'm going through the accessories as extensively. You know, I could have gone through Rune Faces because they are so sick. He does come with a lot of really great ones. But this one, just because you're not expecting it to have so many incredible accessories, but he does. Especially at his price point. It's just it's such a focal point of this figure, I think, that's worth going into. And I still can't find that one. There it is. He comes with these two smaller things that you can just throw in the bag. You got this little crystal, like mana crystal. I'm sure it's something more specific within the D&D universe that somebody could shout out to me in the description down or the comment section down below. But you can throw that thing in there. He also comes with this little extra heart, little extra health. You can throw that thing in there. They do have a bit of a hard time going in together, but you can get them. And then you can close it up, and he's got them carried with him. Real nice. He also comes with this torch. And I'm telling you, like you thought I was done. You thought I was done, bro. We still got half the accessories to go. He comes with this torch, beautiful flame effect, wonderful wood texture. Goes from orange to a bit more clear toward the top. He also comes with this extra axe, which would go down in here. I've tried the other ones, and you can, if you heat this up, get them to fit in here, but then they just drag to the ground. They're not made to. It's made for the axe, the wood axe that he has, which is pretty sick. Goes right in. You can get that sword on the other side, and then if you want to put him on him, he has this little strap here, has this little hook, and you just kind of take it and you slide it in there. It can be a bit finagly, so I'm not going to go through all that hassle right now, but you can imagine if it was on him and he was just coming around like a little adventurer, it looks great. It does the job really well. And then the last couple accessories he does come with is his little mead jug. Moonshine jug is what it looks like to me. I don't think I've ever seen mead in a bottle like this, but I've always seen moonshine in it. But then again, I am from Tennessee, so I suppose that comes with the territory. And I think this hand that he has on right now, outside of just being a cool little action pose, I think it is mostly made to carry it around with him. Pretty fun. And then lastly, he comes with another shield, which when we compare, we've had a couple shields during today's stream. We had the Medusa shield, we had the Wonder Woman shield, and they all have, you know, nice little straps and handles on the back, as does this one, just with a little added extra detail of the paint. And then they also made the little leather strap part a very flexible rubber that you can actually squash, and it's unnecessary. Like, you do this one, hard plastic. You do these, hard plastic. Which is funny because everything else in this McFarlane set is soft plastic, and that's not. You know, it's just a little extra thing they didn't have to do, but they did, and it's so nice. It's so fun. Such a nice little shield. Lots of paint detail. Looks great. I didn't go over these earlier, but these were the weapons that came with Caveman Batman, if you were interested. And these are actually pretty solid and nice for a McFarlane accessory. So McFarlane can do better stuff, and they have done better stuff, but they don't always do better stuff. And then the last bit of accessories that Elkhorn comes with, outside of that extra head that we talked about earlier, is an assortment of hands. You've got fists, you've got several different types of gripping hands to grip all of his necessary things. Elkhorn comes with pretty much everything you could ask for, and all for a $30 figure. If every single figure we could get was priced in the way that NECA does their stuff, you know, I think all of us would, all of us who have engaged in this addiction would be a little bit more comfortable financially. But, you know, you win some, you lose some, and Elkhorn to me is a massive win and an extremely fun way to end off the stream. And of course, we cannot leave without doing size comparisons. This figure is technically a 7-inch scale, so he does run a little large for a dwarf, but he's still shorter than just about everybody else, and most people he stacks up with size-wise are also characters you associate with shortness. So I think he still fits in with 90% of figures that you would have in a very effective way. And I don't think that dwarves are just tiny. You know, I think in most mythologies, we don't think of dwarves as tiny. They're not gnomes. You know, they're not elves, like not like tall elves, but like Christmas elves. You know, they're shorter, and they're very broad and stocky, and that's exactly the way that he feels. I think first I got to bring in the only other dwarf figure that I own that we looked at a minute ago. That was the Mythic Legions one. Where'd he go? We lost him. We lost the dwarf. There he is. Here he is alongside Elkhorn. And yes, he's a little bit bigger. But what are every dwarf going? Is every dwarf going to be the same height? No. You know, Elkhorn can be a little bit more of a bigger boy. In dwarf terms, he's a large guy. But also the height discrepancy is not so dramatic that I can't believe it. You know, I can look at both these and be like, yeah, they're both dwarves. And the way they complement each other with the black beards and the gold accents and the horned helmets, they almost feel like they're meant to be with each other. Like if I had two of these flanking either side of Elkhorn would be like dwarven royalty, and these would be his guards. And I think it looks so sick. So that's the Mythic Legions dwarf, like army builder dwarf thing, I think. Who, compared to other Mythic Legions, has like no paint. That's like the whole thing. The whole gimmick is that you would either paint this yourself, however you would want. So he doesn't have all the studs and rivets painted in the way Poxus does, but typically Mythic Legions does do that, you know. And bringing in another short boy, we got Wolverine, who is definitely close in heights to Elkhorn, but Wolverine is taller. If you look at their eye levels, he is taller. His shoulder height is taller. So like if Wolverine is a really short human and Elkhorn is a taller dwarf, I'm here for it. I think it works. Same sort of concept applies for Vegeta. We're bringing in the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta from SH Figuarts. You know, who's very tiny, but I just like it. I think it works great. And we got again the Fortnite Victory Royale series Potassius Peels. All figures that nobody would look at and be like, those are tall figures. Man, Elkhorn looks tall. No, they're all short figures. They all feel comparable in height to Elkhorn. And I think Elkhorn is a great size. I don't think he would be as fun if he was smaller, if I'm being honest. I mean, okay, that's not true. I think he'd probably be fun, but I just think he's great as is. I don't think if you're dealing with a 6-inch display, if you care about scale, as I've said many times in this stream, scale doesn't matter, man. It's action figures. It's toys. It's make-believe. It's imagination. You know, just find a way to use a little storytelling in your own headcanon to tell a story that makes it make sense. He's a taller dwarf. That's all you got to do. So simple. And I think you keep that in mind, and he ends up being a great addition that you can't go wrong with. And for the sake of it, we could bring in a couple more normal sized figures. Here's a standard G.I. Joe. You know, Elkhorn still feels like a dwarf compared to him. And then we've got the McFarlane Toys Nightfall Batman, which is more of a 7-inch line. So either way, Elkhorn looks great along 6-inch or 7-inch. And I don't think you can go wrong with him. I think with everything that he comes with, man, I mean, we've been accumulating this pile of accessories in the background just to show like all the accessories that have come with these figures too, which I think is a point of notice. The only things not there are Mega Man's accessories and Prune Face's accessories. But outside of that, half of these damn accessories in this pile now are from Elkhorn. So he's a great figure and an incredible figure, I think, to round this off with, because he is probably the figure that I got that I was just the most happy with. The moment I saw it shown off by NECA probably about a year ago, I was like, man, that's gonna be an awesome figure. I don't have enough dwarfs. Mythic Legion dwarfs can be kind of expensive because there's a pretty high demand for them. this would be a great option. And then I saw the pre-orders were selling out, and I was like, oh brother, am I even going to be able to get it? But I walked into Target the other day, found like there was like 3 of them on the shelf, and of course I took one home. And I really hope that a lot of people are able to get this guy in hand and put this guy in their collection, because he is just peak dwarf for the shelf, and everybody needs at least one dwarf. So, anyways, y'all, I think we're going to call the stream there. Ezzy, Brown, thank you guys for tuning in for the first stream and giving me a little bit of something to talk to. I do appreciate that. It helps me get into the zone of just being able to talk to myself as I would if I was recording the videos and uploading them. You know, you've got to learn to just kind of run with a conversation with yourself, and having y'all pop in kind of helped me get to that point. So thank you guys. If anybody's watching this video, this VOD, this stream after the fact, please come in and tune in for the next ones. We're gonna have a good time. I think my next one, like I said, I do want to do one where I fix some broken figures and do some mods. But I also want to do one, I think my next one might be just an appreciation of soft goods, because there's just been so many good soft goods on figures in the last while that I'd like to go through with Prune Face and other ones and just put together all the figures that I have with soft goods and just kind of talk through the different kinds of soft goods, the effective uses of them, and where they really work well in this scale, because I know some people either love them or hate them. And I think it'd be a fun stream, fun topic to talk about. So if you guys are interested, come in next week. Hopefully the stream will be a little bit better. I don't think it was particularly bad this time, but I do want to spice it up a little bit more. Maybe get rid of this little watermark right here from the Epoch can from Elgato, which only costs a couple bucks to pay to not have, so it might be worth it. Just anyways, if anybody has enjoyed the stream, please let me know. Leave a comment down below. Check out next week's stream, and we'll be back at it. Anyways, y'all, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Bored Figures, and until the next time I grab a random figure off the shelf to talk about, or something like that, I don't know. Bye, y'all.